Justice for all.
Thank you. Applications for rezoning requests will be heard during tonight's meeting, and the commission will vote on these applications and make a recommendation to the county council. The applications will then be scheduled to be introduced before the county council at the Monday, December 5th, 2022 county council meeting. The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for this evening's public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those documents are the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, and the year 2030 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2030 Future Land Use Plan map. Okay. I see that we have a quorum. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Okay. How our meeting works, I'll take these readers off. I will read into the record the application. The staff will then give us a report regarding the application and their recommendation. Members of the commission may or may not have questions for the staff at that time. Then we'll ask the applicant to come forward to present the application and answer any questions that members of the commission may have. Then we will open a public hearing in regards to that application. Anyone wishing to speak regarding the application can come forward. If you're going to speak, if you're an applicant, or if you're speaking in the public hearing, please fill out one of our little white cards, one of these, over at the end of the table. This way, we ensure that we get your name correct in our minutes. So if you speak, then fill out one of these white cards. This is a meeting of record, so if you do come and speak, I have to swear you in. Okay. Once we have closed the public hearing, then the public hearing is closed. We'll take no further comments unless requested by a member of the commission. We'll ask the applicant to come back and address any issues that may have came out, arose during the public hearing portion. And then the commission will take the matter under advisement and we will have a vote. So that's pretty much the process that we follow in these meetings. The first item on our agenda is a rezoning request located at 211 Clearview Drive, application number RZ 22-16. The property owner is CVD Assets, LLC. Applicant is Joshua Jones, CVD Assets, LLC. The current zoning is R1E, Single Family Residential District. Requested zoning is C2, General Commercial District. The 2030 Master Plan recommends commercial uses. The area is 0.27 acres. It's located on the west side of Clearview Drive, approximately 500 feet south of Veterans Memorial Parkway, adjoining the city of St. Charles, and is located in Council District 5. Staff.
All right, both of these are kind of similar. This one is very unique, though. I went by this place and noted many times since that it's the first time I've come to a residential neighborhood. The first thing I came to was a fork truck driving down the street. So we kind of have some commercial uses there going on already. I believe the applicant's in attendance tonight. Is it on?
Yeah, you turn your mic off.
How do you turn it on?
Yes.
It is on. Oh, you're not hearing me. I'll get right in that
Now we
thing.
hear you.
So it's a fairly small lot. It's a quarter-acre lot. The applicant has several commercial properties in the area, in the vicinity, with at least one, if not more, businesses run out of those buildings, and is running out of storage and needs some more storage. It's an area where the city of St. Charles and us kind of hodgepodge all over the place, where some things are in the city and some things are out in the county. The two other houses in the middle of that block on the same side as the subject property, in the middle of the block, those two are in St. Charles proper in the city. And the one right behind the car dealer at the, what would that be, the north end of the street, is in our jurisdiction, and I believe is a rental property. So there's a mix of uses there already. There's a pretty adequate drainage at the end of that street. It goes downhill, and there's a pretty big drainage basin there that was built prior, and it may or may not be adequate to take up whatever is needed for the, if my understanding is what's right here, that the house that's on that lot will be demolished, and there'll be some sort of commercial building built there for storage for the applicant to use in one of his businesses. So the future land use plan definitely shows that whole area in C2. And certainly at some point when the Bob's property gets sold to somebody who's got financing to get whatever done they need to get done, that whole area will probably go that way at that time. It's very close to the Highway 70 corridor. It's not totally transformed over to commercial at this time, but it's well on its way there. The other houses around the corner that are behind the building he currently runs his business out of are also in our jurisdiction, and they back up to commercial land that's right on the access road that has used car lots on them. So one day those will probably get absorbed if and when somebody moves in there with a car dealership, which has been proposed at least once in the past already, to my knowledge. So personally, I was looking at this, trying to figure out what I wanted to say about it, but in the end, I decided that, staff recommendation would be for approval, simply because, to use the technical term that we agreed on, the horse is kind of out of the barn on this one, and it's already almost commercial currently.
Any questions for staff? Were there any letters?
I did not receive any letters on this, nor, well, no, I wouldn't say nor a phone call. I did get a phone call from the gentleman that owns the house that's directly behind the car dealerships on the same side of the street as this, directly behind the car dealers up there.
Nothing from the city of St. Charles?
We didn't get a letter from them either way, did we? No. No.
Okay, thank you. Ask the applicant to come forward. Right there. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings, or at the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Gary Sullen, 159 Amherst Place, St. Charles, Missouri, 63303. I'm one of the owners of 200 Clearview and 212 and 211 Clearview.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
We're stating to build a building there to store parts for our elevator company and the lawn irrigation company that we own.
So you're going to take down the house and build a new building?
Yes.
Any questions for the applicant?
What type of business would you anticipate there?
It's just going to be in addition to the businesses we own, the lawn irrigation company, GDS Irrigation, and All Rise Elevator, the other company that we own.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for application number RZ 22-16. Is there anyone here wishing to speak? Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your name and
Lonnie
address.
Haney.
Pardon?
Lonnie Haney.
Your address?
I own the property at 125 Clearview.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
And as far as that commercial thing, they've been trying to get that commercial for maybe 35 years now. So it's not going to be right away. They've been wanting to sell it off as a block since I can remember. Or not since I can remember, since 35 years ago. And at the end of the street there, there's a well house and a well. I think I spoke with Doug about that, and he didn't even know it was there. It's behind some bushes. With all the water and the wells in the St. Charles area having issues. I just want to make sure that that well house and the well property there is protected, because it may at one time go back into use for some reason or another. It's not been used since the Floanne subdivision went on to county water years ago, but it's still there. There's a building there, and there's a reservoir, and part of the reservoir has been covered over with some dirt and stuff from being filled up by the people at the end of the street. On the other side, be 212, and they're 211, so they're gonna have the end of the street. I just wanna make sure whatever they do, they don't encroach on that property and damage it anyways. Because if they're gonna put a building up, and they're already driving up and down the street, I understand that. I've lived in that area since '68, so I've seen the changes in the area, but you want to protect what's there that's valuable. And that's about all I got to say.
Okay. Any questions?
Where is that on the, what lot is that on?
What's that?
Where did you say that well is?
It's at the end of the street,
The end of Clearview?
end of Clearview. You go all the way down to the end of Clearview, straight down there, and
Little grove of trees?
Yeah,
that grove of trees,
Okay.
that's the well house.
Okay,
And as you're looking at it going down the street, and just off to the left of
I
it,
see it.
yeah, so it's
There
not,
is
it's not on
a-
his property.
a reservoir.
Okay,
So, and, you know, if all these wells and everything that are being shut down and everything, if that water's good coming out of there, it's gonna be the value. And that's what the 13 houses in Floanne subdivision originally got their water from the well.
okay.
So that's all, I wanna make sure that's protected.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, in O'Fallon. First of all, staff is correct. This is a very changing and diverse neighborhood. It has a mix, and it's about 50-50 with commercial and residential dwellings. Hopefully, some of you got out and drove that neighborhood, and you could see for yourself the mix-up. There's some setbacks that are pretty close together. Some of the lots are pretty small, as before we had a lot of zoning regulations. My concerns, and I ask that you put some conditions on this rezoning application. Number one is the stormwater runoff, retention detention to comply with our new county-approved M4 water guidelines. The second issue is, I don't know if they intend to put up any lighting to light the exterior of the building, but if they do any, do they make sure that they don't shine upon the adjoining neighbors? To one side is a residential dwelling. And that there be a landscaping screen or buffer for the adjoining residential home be put up. Something that will, definitely divide the residential versus the commercial. And finally, since this is going to be now going from residential to commercial, to make sure that they're in compliance, if this building is open to the public, that they're in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act to have ample access to the building and parking if the public is invited. I don't know, he said he's going to use it as storage. I'm assuming it probably won't be open to the public, but if it is, I want to make sure that Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, is fully complied with. Those are my issues, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding application RZ 22-16? Anyone? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. We'll ask the applicant to come back. Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
I just have one, and you may have said that. Is that your building right next to this piece of property?
We own the building across the street and then the one on the corner. We own 200 Clearview, 212 Clearview, and 211 Clearview.
Okay. 205 is the residence.
Yes, I believe so. Oh, is that in between 200 and, no, it's on the other side of the street. That would be a residence, I believe.
Yeah, it's between 211, you.
Yeah.
And
I
201.
believe that's a residence, yes.
So you own 200, 212,
Yes, and 211.
and 211, okay. Any other questions?
I guess just a couple that gentleman back there brought up. Are you going to have any additional lighting on the property and any kind of screening between?
Whatever
this
we're
property?
required to do at the time of construction, we'll do. Again, it's not going to be open to the public. It's just going to be for elevator parts and lawn irrigation parts.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll now bring application number RZ 22-16 back to the commission for consideration. Anyone have any questions for staff?
So these items of the lighting and screening, that will be something that's done on plan review that you all will address, is that correct?
Right, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, we
Okay.
have lighting standards, screening standards,
Okay.
et cetera.
Okay, great.
So it would be addressed either through the site plan process or conditional use permit process, or both.
Great. Thank you.
Is the this closed wellhead, is it in the county or the city?
I don't know offhand. I have
It's
to look
not
at-
really in the bounds of either property.
Yeah. Right, it's off-site for this property, but I don't know if you remember the old Bromps Mobile Home Park?
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it?
Sure.
This backs up to that site.
Yeah,
And so that's behind it, and there's a detention basin just south of this, and then there's what I would call an outdoor, I don't know if it's outdoor storage yard across the street. So it is a mix of commercial, semi-industrial, and residential in the street.
because we approved a conditional use permit for the front half, and that's been over 2 years, and they never did anything. It was going to be a auto body shop or something,
I can't recall that. I'm
used
sorry.
car lot,
Yep. It's been a long time.
to the front half of that property.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about the Bromps Mobile Home
Brom's
Park?
Mobile Home,
Yeah, we've approved 2 conditional use permits for an auto dealership, and both those got approved, and both of them expired before they ever constructed anything. So, yes.
any other questions? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve application RZ 22-16. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Clary, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Kirchner made the second. Ms. Barr, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Ms. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Application passes. Next item on our agenda is a rezoning request located at 2012 Hill Road, application RZ 22-17. Property owners are Brian Rybo, did I get that correct? Rebo, okay, and Laura Rebo. Applicant is Laura Rebo. Current zoning is A Agricultural District. Rezoning request is C2 General Commercial District. The 2030 master plan recommends commercial uses. The area is .44 acres in size. The location is at the northwest quadrant of Highway 61 and David Hokel Parkway, adjoining the cities of Wentzville and Flint Hill, located in Council District 1. Staff.
Right. The essence of this case is the property is zoned agricultural now, and they're proposing to rezone it to C2 General Commercial District. And it has a surprisingly complicated history, but I do want to go over a little bit of it because it's pertinent.
Is this the old Fanning and Sachs building?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. There's a residential subdivision. This lot is part of a residential subdivision. If you look back at our records, it's not technically a subdivision because there's no plat, but it's exists. The parcel is .44 acres, but as best I can tell, it doesn't have any sewer service. It's just it must be on a septic system on a tiny little parcel. In fact, if this parcel didn't have any buildings on it, it would be too small to even consider for use for an on-site sewage treatment system. But there's an existing building there. So the building has been used as a warehouse in the past. And I'm a little, honestly, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm baffled on how it became a warehouse in that it's zoned agricultural. I can't find, I looked at all of our building permits back to the 1970s, and I don't find any approval for conversion. But what I did find, I looked in old newspapers and found out that in 1984, this property was annexed by the city of Flint Hill. And then there was a conflict with the city of Wentzville at annexation. And so apparently sometime after that, it was de-annexed by the city of Flint Hill. Either that or the annexation was never approved, one or the other. So a possibility, but I don't know if this is true or not, but potentially something was approved by the city of Flint Hill because it was, at that time, it was owned by a drywall family.
Sachs and Fanning.
Yes, Fanning and Sachs, yeah. It was a drywall company. And so I believe it must have been used as like a warehouse for drywall for some time.
They ran their business out of there.
Right. So I don't have any record of a non-conforming use permit for this property. But obviously, if the owners wanted to apply for one and provided evidence for why they believe it's a non-conforming use, we could certainly consider that. But we don't have any non-conforming use permit at this time. So we're really left with its own agricultural, which has a minimum lot size of 5 acres. So it's non-conforming in that way. They want to rezone it to commercial, which would allow it to, that doesn't have a minimum lot size. But I would say a warehouse is not a permitted use in the C2 commercial district. It's a conditional use. So if it were rezoned to C2 commercial district, a warehouse would require a conditional use permit. But there are a whole range of things that it could be used for in the C2 district. It could be an office, for instance. That's probably the most likely thing. They could continue using it as long as it was legally established. Then they could continue using it as a warehouse. But it also could include things like a restaurant or just any use that's permitted in our zoning district in the C2 district. A couple of things. The master plan recommends on the northwest quadrant of Highway 61, which this tract borders, and David Hochul Parkway, it recommends future commercial land uses. I think what I had in mind was that someday that corner would be primed for redevelopment. Say, for instance, if someone came in with multiple lots and wanted to redevelop that from residential to commercial, that'd be a prime location for it. But in this case, no one's stepping forward to do that. They're stepping forward with one parcel that's kind of in the back of the subdivision, meaning that if this were zoned commercial, it would draw commercial traffic through this residential subdivision to this parcel. Now, having said that, it's already had traffic for some years for these drywall trucks and drywall contractors, so.
I would say traffic is probably like, you have a few guys coming and going in the mornings and the evenings.
Yeah, okay. So there are factors that favor rezoning, including the master plan, and then there's other factors that do not favor the rezoning. The county staff, we're recommending that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend denial for the application, mainly from the fact that if multiple parcels were brought in at once for a rezoning commercial, it would make more sense, but we have one small parcel kind of in the back of the subdivision. This parcel does front or face, I should say, or is visible from Highway 61, so they have all the traffic noise and that sort of land use impact on this parcel. So in that regard, it does make sense to rezone it to commercial. But again, I think on balance, our recommendation would be to recommend denial.
Any questions for staff?
You mentioned non-conforming use. Can you explain a little bit more about that? I mean, is
Right.
there a way that they could continue to use it in a way that it's been used in the past, for example?
Yes.
Based on that?
If someone has, a non-conforming use means that a property is being used for something that's not allowed in that zoning district. And there's two kinds of non-conforming uses. There is a legal non-conforming use. In other words, it was legally established, it was allowable at the time it was established, but the rules changed, and so it's what you might call grandfathered. And the other type of non-conforming use is what you might call an illegal non-conforming use. It just means that when it was established, it was not permitted in that zoning district, and it has never been permitted. So I don't know which one of these it falls under, but if it was legally established, certainly they could continue to use it for a warehouse for as long as they chose to. And to protect their rights to do so, they could apply for what's called a non-conforming use permit. They could apply to the county for a non-conforming use permit, which would kind of formally recognize that this use was legally established at some point.
Any other questions for staff? Hearing none, we will ask the applicant to come forward. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or in the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your names and address for the record.
Laura Rebo.
Ryan Rebo?
Address of the property is 2012 Hill Road, Winslow, Missouri, 63385.
Go ahead.
We purchased the building about 18-ish months ago. We were going to use it because I owned a home staging company and I wanted it for an office space and for some storage. In the meantime, while we were renovating the building, because it was a huge eyesore, we put almost $80,000 into the building to fix it up because it had parts of it falling down, literally. I sold the staging company, so we don't use it for that. So we finished the renovation and decided we were going to sell it, and that's why we're here today, because we had two appraisals on the building. One when we purchased that came up, it was commercial. A second one after we renovated to get another appraised value. It came up again, no issues with it being commercially zoned. I have a buyer for the building, and his appraiser came in and talked to someone here and said that it's not zoned commercial. So we have all the listing documents from when we bought it and back in 1983 when Fanning and Saks bought it. Fanning dropped out, so it just became Saks about 10 years ago. So we bought it directly from Saks. He's like in his 80s now, so getting help from him. His memory is not the greatest. I spoke with the listing agent, so this has all kind of blindsided us, if you could, for lack of better terms. As far as it being a subdivision, like he said, we really don't have a recorded plat of it being a subdivision. There are two homes before our building. It is not in the back, and that road is a dead end. So if you look at where Piney Road comes into Hill Road, and we submitted videos of actually driving that, if you guys have the link, I don't know if you got that or not. So when you drive and you turn off of Piney where there's a brand new gas station, well, it's 2 years old gas station, we are one parcel over from that gas station. You drive past 3 houses total. One house is basically condemned, no one lives in it, and it's falling down. We provided a photo in our notes as well. There's trees growing on top of it. It looks like Jumanji on the outside. Then there are 2 homes and us. Our property is the only property on Hill. It's the first property on Hill, actually. So Piney comes into Hill Road as that turns. We're the only first property on Hill Road, and 3 sides of our building you're basically looking at onto Highway 61. You could throw a rock onto Highway 61. Noise is a huge issue. We put new windows in because you couldn't hear anyone talking next to you. Lighting, you have Flynn Water Treatment Company literally directly across 61, and all of their lighting at night, because they have multi-million-dollar worth of equipment sitting there, literally shines in our windows. There's a volleyball court on the other corner that you see the lighting from. That's a huge recreational volleyball court there.
And noise when they have games.
And noise when there's games, you hear that at our building as well. As far as 23 homes, I'm really not sure where that's coming from, because you drive past 2 and there are 10 parcels past us and only 9 have homes on them. We are the first road on that street, and on our left, there's a huge field, a grassy field. you want to give them these? We printed these out too. I didn't get to put them in the notes. This actually, we consulted with our attorney, and he had two things that he wanted us to bring up at the meeting for sure. One is this: there's a large commercial apartment real estate company that in 2011, right across that grassy field from us, has a same size almost parcel as us, and they were able to zone C2, and it's literally right out in that field in the photos we provided. It's 2,060 feet, so less than half a mile out the field from our front door. And they were allowed to zone C2. The other thing that he wanted to bring up is in this 2030 land use, we're seeing that there's already, and I'm sure you guys got this too, with the roundabout that they're basically saying is gonna go in at our front door.
For the master plan.
So the 2030 plan, the question is it, is this gonna have any effect on us if we don't get to sell the property? What are we looking at as far as, are you guys gonna be taking over our property to do this roundabout, or what will happen with all of this is kind of our questions after speaking to our attorney. So he was very concerned with this roundabout and traffic noise, saying, oh, it's okay to put a roundabout in and have 9 houses past you, but it's not okay for you to have traffic that they've already been using since 1983 for a drywall company. I mean, there's literally no traffic. We're the first house, and we're not open to public either. We weren't planning on being. The buyer isn't either. So what traffic would be coming through there? We're just a little, this is all, we don't understand it either,
So Laura, what is the person that wants to buy, what are they planning?
He owns a small digital online marketing company, so they make like small videos that you put on with your website to advertise for, say you have a company and you need like
He's
a.
gonna use it for his housing.
Yeah,
business.
it's office space now. It's not a warehouse. Saks and Fanning, they used it for a warehouse.
Okay.
That's not what we have it set for. Like I said, we went in and renovated everything. The other thing is, the house behind us sits on a very large lot. And being respectful of them, we put up a large decorative privacy fence, which we have in one of the photos that we provided as well. So we've already done that just out of respect for them.
And left all the foliage too. so-
Yeah, and we left trees. We actually took 8 down because we had to, because they were so bad, because Fanning and Saks had let us sit there. They were so overgrown, it cost us almost $30,000 to have trees taken down that were massive, just so they didn't fall on the house that sits behind us or our property. So we cleaned up, every single person past us that I know of stopped in, and they were so grateful to us and talked our ear off. And they were just like, thank you so much for cleaning this up, because we were so sick of looking at it, and we were worried about our property value. And so it was a huge concern to all the neighbors that this was sitting there the way it was and just dilapidated. And now it looks fantastic, so.
So 2030 master plan, a roundabout, is there a roundabout plan for there? Because there's one right there now, so I was,
Well, not part of the master plan, but there's the Highway 61 corridor. There's a corridor study that anticipates outer roads built along Highway 61. There's an excerpt from that plan in your staff report, and I think maybe you handed that out. And they are showing at some point what does look like a roundabout just to the west of this site.
So there's a Granville Road, which is where that other
Right.
C2 property was zoned, that sits in front of that subdivision that I noted. It sits in the front, just like we would sit in the front of where they're saying we're a subdivision. So it looks like they're trying to connect Granville and that off-ramp or Hill Road. I can't tell in that drawing that I handed you. There's literally only about a half a mile that is not connected on that, between those two
Because of
roads
the big
right now.
field.
Because
Well,
of the field that sits adjacent to us.
yeah, aren't they wanting to connect all of that up and down
Right,
eventually?
making an outer road.
Eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from like behind where QT is in Winsville, and then come back
Yes.
behind,
Yeah.
around,
Now
yeah.
luckily, I reviewed your property in terms of those plans, because I was worried that that right-of-way may need to be taken. But based on
Well,
the
and
plans.
that's our concern with our
Yeah.
attorney. He said and this is just what I'm saying, his side of it, what he was saying is, if we're not zone commercial and we're just agricultural, the cost to come in for a buyout would be way less than doing a commercial buyout, correct?
Well, I reviewed the plans, and they're showing that they don't need any additional right-of-way.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, because I was worried when this first came in that the plans may conflict with what your plans are. So that was one of the first things I looked at. But-
No, I mean, we don't need it now because like I said, I had a broker come in and bought out what I was planning on doing, and now I'm just stuck with this mess, and it's just kind of, blindsided us, so.
So I'm from this area, very
Yeah.
familiar with all this property, the history,
Right.
everything. I did have some people reach out to me because they're concerned, there's been talk in the area that, people are wanting to put in another gas station, wanting to put in other shops.
There's so many
and,
rumors
those
thrown
types of things.
with that
So
field
it's good
next
to
door.
hear, that you're just wanting to use it
No.
as an office type of thing.
We wouldn't have put $80,000 into it if we were gonna tear it down, and we loved it. We love the people right there. Like I said, everybody has been so cordial and stopped in. I mean, I had one lady there for an hour just chatting with me, just so excited to see all the changes, so.
Yeah. And I think the people who reached out to me that live in this area, are just we're concerned about.
Right, because they see a sign and they don't know what it's for.
Exactly.
I get it. I totally was worried about the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have that paper back?
Yes. You sure can. You want this back too?
We will now open the public hearing for RZ 22-17. Anyone wishing to speak? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Name is Reg Hemmer Jr., 1947 Hill Road.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well, I don't know where to start. The gentleman gave you some history of the place. It had been a drywall warehouse for a lot of years, from the early mid-'70s, somewhere in there, 74, I think. I don't know how it got rezoned or anything like that. The original gentleman that ran the drywall business eventually turned it over to their nephew, I believe it was, and it ran as a drywall warehouse continually up until 2008, until the recession hit them and they just run out of work and didn't have it and went out of business. And then it sat there for a while, a few years vacant, I think, and then I believe there might have been some other little businesses in there. But the problem of all this is, right now, is a parking problem. Before the new overpass went in about 2 years ago, there was ample room to park on the street because you could get off the street on the shoulder. But since the new highway came in, they just about eliminated the shoulder altogether and just put up a guardrail in spots. So there's no parking there. They're parking on Hill Road up around the corner, which really cuts down the vision of trying to get up and down our street. We're also concerned about if it's rezoned, that it will require or will allow more traffic to come in, which is somewhat treacherous, trying to get off the Poco Parkway onto Old Piney Road down to Hill Road. Because you come off there and it's like driving in a hole, and you go back down the hill on the original Piney Road, which used to come out onto the highway. That was blocked off with with the overpass and the exit ramp off southbound 61. Also, Hill Road, to the best of my knowledge, I have never received anything from it, does not start down there at Piney. Originally, when they made Highway 61 into a 4-lane highway, you would come off the highway onto Piney Road and make a turn, a right turn to come up our road. Hill Road is a private street. We take care of the maintenance ourselves, resurfacing, sealing, snow removal. The first, up until around the corner, was actually, at one time, state right-of-way. So I consider that service road up until around the corner. And at one time, there was a state highway right-of-way marker there to indicate that it made the corner up to a certain point. But just the same, there's no place to park. We believe it's dangerous. And if there's more traffic going to be coming in, if it's rezoned, it's not going to improve its situation any. And if it's rezoned commercial, we're kind of afraid that kind of opens the door for Wentzville to jump in, which we don't want anything to do with. So I personally am against this. My wife is against this. We have been there a long time. We were one of the original ones up there. And we don't think it's a good idea to have this rezoned.
Anything else? Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hello?
You solemnly swear or affirm that you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Jason Smith, 1969 Hill Road. I believe it's on your map. It's property 1000, I think it is. Again, I don't know the history of this building or its, the future. I object to this. It's dangerous, plain and simple. That's a very narrow 2-lane road with some sharp turns, which you probably can't see on your maps there, but that gets icy, that gets hill. You come down, there's that building right there that constantly has multiple vehicles parked, making it a 1-lane road right there. There's just, it's a silly place to put a business in a neighborhood. Doesn't make, especially on that corner where there's no place for this business to park, right? There's what probably looks like garages there in a parking area that's never used. No one ever parks there. It's always on the street. That one on the side, you'll see cars in sometimes, but coming around that corner, 2 little sharp corners there, it's always cars, right? This goes commercials, that's more traffic there. And a place that just doesn't make any sense.
Jason, do other people park on the street on any of these other houses?
No.
In the front?
None.
Do you guys have any objection to putting no parking on the street and signs and making it a law, or changing how you use your road? I mean, that's what I would do.
I don't.
And then nobody can park on the street, and you don't have that problem. I mean, even if this doesn't get approved or does get approved, you should consider doing that. That's what I'd be
I
doing.
wouldn't know where to start, to be honest.
Talk to the county.
Yeah.
Yep. They'll tell you.
Because Hill Road is, before you get to that curve, is still part of what you guys pave, take care of.
Correct. We do that all ourselves.
Right, and that's part of your subdivision, correct?
Correct.
So, yeah, that would be something I would
If it's
definitely do.
private roads, you guys
No matter
have the
what
right to do
happens.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a private road, wouldn't your association or whatever your group of, homeowners be able to decide what you want the rules to be on your own private road?
Just means nobody can park on the street at any time, though,
Yeah.
without getting
Well-
ticketed.
We're trying to decide about not having businesses.
It's just a suggestion, you guys should look into it, I'm not saying you have to decide that tonight, but it's like, it's one of those things.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Anything else?
I think that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Ryan Richardet, 1957 Hill Road.
Go ahead, sir.
So to create a little bit of clarity, I think it's, part of the problem is it's unclear where Hill Road actually starts. So according to our understanding, Hill Road, our subdivision street, starts immediately after, it would be, I would call it the second driveway. So as you come around the corner, the asphalt doesn't start until after that driveway. So before that, there is a state maintenance sign, and it's always this big hullabaloo because Wentzville wants to plow so far, and then the state has to come plow the other thing. So the state always loves to plow that last because who are we, right? So we're always stuck. So the problem, along with the traffic, is if they don't come plow that, we can't get out. Like, we'll just end up sliding into the guardrail. It's hard enough with, I wouldn't even consider it a full 2-lane by the building as it is to get around there, because we have to stick to the inner corner, kind of like a raceway, to slide around the corner and not hit the guardrail, because they don't come and plow it. So we're required to plow our street, which starts above, and they plow what's below. So again, it's a huge safety hazard. What's also happened in that area since they built that new overpass, how that road used to dead end into the highway there, they now made that a complete square corner. So there's a stop sign when you are coming from whatever you guys want to call it, the hillside going up towards, I guess what they call it, Hokel Parkway. There's a stop sign there. Nobody pays attention to that stop sign. So everybody usually just kind of takes a wide turn the other way. If anybody ever meets exactly that corner, they're going to hit. And they didn't really address that. There's plenty of, I'm not sure if it's county land or whatever that kind of associates there. It doesn't allow for the traffic to merge properly, I would say. So it creates another hazard, along with the cars parking on multiple sides of the roads. They did clean up the property, like when they first said they made a lot of advancements to it, but as whatever businesses have there have grown, there is a few parking spots up by the garage. There's probably like 5 parking spots, maybe 6 if they're lucky. They've overgrown that, and they just started parking out on the street. And again, we don't feel like we have any real representation of that because it's state road. And if it is state road, then they, in my opinion, they shouldn't be able to park there to begin with, and it should be, like they said, no parking. With the traffic from there, there is more traffic from, there is a lawn care service and other people that have come from there and then come and turn around at the end of our road instead of turning around down there, because there's usually no space. At the end of the road, there was a vacant house that had a U-turn in the driveway. It's actually where all of our trash trucks, any service trucks, they actually have to turn around in this driveway and then back down to pick up the service as it is now. There's somebody that recently moved in there. That was vacant for like a couple of years, so they kind of just started taking advantage of that. Now that's not available anymore. So what happens is they get down there and they're like, we don't know where to turn around. So they usually turn around in my yard because I am at the very corner at the end before they get to the blind corner, and they're like, oh, we don't know where to go. This obviously dead ends. And it's been happening like multiple times where they'll like back off in the ditch, or I'll be like, hey, like, don't do that, which is not their specific fault. I'm assuming it's, the tenants, but this is some of the issues that we're dealing with on this very, very narrow road. Like you said, there have been every once in a while, a few people park on the edge because there was another house that they were rehabbing. Nobody parks full time on the edge of that road. If 2 trucks meet, 1 truck has to take the grass of somebody's yard on the specific hill road because it is that narrow as it merges down to the end down there. Yeah, it's just a really dangerous situation that I feel like was an oversight when they started planning that, and how they're going to put a roundabout in there with the rocks and how that's all going to work, I'm not sure, but this all being a commercial development does not bode well if it continues in the manner that it is being used right now. Thank you.
Anything else? Any questions?
Can I get you to spell your name for me?
Yep, spelled Richard, Richardet.
Simpler than I thought, sorry.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or in the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C., A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535 in O'Fallon. First of all, there's a couple issues that really come to light here. Number one is the sewer service. The only potential, I believe Flint Hill offers limited sewer and water service, but the most likelihood would be with the city of Wentzville. And they're not going to provide sewer service unless they annex to the city of Wentzville. The second issue that's really been brought to light, and I'm really not convinced by staff that proper research was done with the recorder of deeds or by calling the city of Flint Hill or the city of Wentzville. And I ask that this commission table this issue pending a legal opinion from Mr. Wise, your associate county counselor to my right. What is the proper jurisdiction? I would like to avoid any potential litigation from the city of Flint Hill or the city of Wentzville. I think that should be on everybody's mind to make sure that this is within unincorporated venue. If we make a mistake, it could cost us dearly as taxpayers, and I would ask that you ask Mr. Wise his legal opinion before proceeding. The next issue is there was a letter received from the city of Wentzville dated November 7th. They have some really good ideas here. This property needs paved driveways, either concrete or blacktop, and a paved parking lot that currently is not being offered. Since this borders a residential district, there needs to be proper buffering, proper landscape, and appropriate type 2 or type 3 screening to uphold property values of the residential part of this neighborhood. There was another email received by Todd Pruitt, a resident of Hill Drive, received from the county or to the county on November 9th. He's opposed, and he confirms that this is a dead-end street privately maintained by the residents. This development will bring new traffic demands, and they won't be paying for the upkeep or maintenance of the roadway. He also talks about potential decrease of property values. I've looked at this issue. I sympathize with the owners. They probably should have done a little bit more homework before they did a contract to purchase the property a few years ago. I applaud them for cleaning up the property, but I have to go with Mr. Myers and the planning and zoning staff and support the staff's recommendation that we pay a lot of money to in terms of denial. If this commission does recommend to the county council, I would ask that the county council put a condition that the rezoning, contingent upon approval of rezoning, would require a CUP, conditional use permit, to control what goes on this parcel. And I think that's really important. And then to the residents behind me, you need to bring more residents to oppose this issue at the December 12th county council meeting before 7 o'clock. And there will be 3 minutes that you can say resident comments. Those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. I ask for denial in light of all the circumstances, and I also ask that you meet with your legal counsel to determine proper jurisdiction so we don't get sued. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding application RZ 22-17? Nope, sir, you've already spoken. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, we will close public hearing and ask the applicants to come back. Any questions for the applicant?
I have a couple.
I guess my concern is about the parking. Several people have brought that up.
We have 2 parking lots. There are a total of 16 spots there. I can't be there to police what happens, but right now, as we were doing construction and bringing in huge sheets of drywall and drywall tape sheets and things like that, yes, there have been a lot of cars on the top one, so there's a parking lot here that holds 8, and there's a parking lot up here that holds 8. And they are right. The state is taking care of the road. Like I said, we're the only 61 facing building. Hill starts technically, from what the state has told us, after our building at the line where the lot line is marked. So technically, we're not on Hill where they're maintaining it. And I understand parking on the street right there could be an issue, but like you brought up, put a no parking on this road, on that area. I can't control what everyone is doing on that road. The other thing is, we've even had our landscaper cut across the street where they're talking about all the state stuff, because the state is not cutting it, the state is not maintaining it. It is like a zoo right there between 61 and Piney and Hill. So we've even went above and beyond to do that because it was so bad. So as far as the stop sign at Piney and Hill and across from the gas station, it's bad there too, but that's not our parcel, that's not our controllable issue. That's nothing we can control. Those are things that the state's gonna have to come in and fix. That shouldn't be on our behalf.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. First, specifically, you said that the person that's wanting to purchase this property is wanting to have an office?
It's office, yeah,
Can-
office space. There's 3 offices there now, so 16 spots should be plenty of room for 3 office spaces.
So we're talking like 3 people, like 1 person per
I
office
would
coming in the
say
morning?
if
And
that, yeah.
so like 3 cars in the morning, 3 cars at night?
Once it's purchased by them, because we've completed our construction now. That's why we're selling.
Okay, have you all considered any other sort of conditional use permit or anything besides just zoning it as a C2? I think one of the
It needs to be C2
concerns.
for loan purposes, for someone to get funding is what it comes down to, I believe. So if it is zone C2 and it needs to have a, like you said, what can be put in the C2 space, then I'm sure that's fine. It's just gonna be about needing to be commercial, and it's agricultural right now. It shouldn't be agricultural either. That's the point. Like, when did that happen? Why is it that? It's a .46 parcel. All of the rest of them are agricultural around us are 5 acres plus for agricultural.
So I think the concern would be that if it's zoned C2, that gives the opportunity for someone to come in and do something else with that land that's more than what you're doing. I don't know that the concern is
Right.
specifically what you're wanting to do.
Right.
So my question for you then is, have you considered if there's a way to do what you want to do without creating a risk of giving people the opportunity of doing things that are, vastly inappropriate for that particular
Are there
neighborhood?
ways to limit what C2 usages are done in that building?
It's a
Why do
conditional
you
use
think it
permit.
needs to be C2? I'm confused about that. I personally
For
own,
funding, for loans, for
I mean, I don't
buyers,
think
lenders.
that's-
Agriculture for, because they don't have the zoning to do.
that's not the case. I
Well,
personally
they can't run the
have.
business out of it as agricultural, because it's out
Right.
of conformance.
Okay.
The other
so they
thing
have
is the
to- but they have-
taxes are
But it doesn't
showing-
have to be C2.
Doesn't have to be.
Because
but
I
for them to get the
personally
loan,
have a
yes.
commercial loan on a piece of land that is zoned agricultural, and the particular use is a permissive use within agricultural, but
And
it
you
is
have
a
a loan?
commercial use, and I do have a commercial loan on it, yes.
Because the commercial lender is not saying the same thing.
Depends on the commercial lender. I use First State Bank of, First State Community Bank out of Wright City. But it's a commercial loan, it's on a piece of agricultural property, it has a commercial use. Now, the difference is, the commercial use in this case is permissive under agricultural. So what I'm saying is, it may not be that you have to have it zoned as C2. It may be that it has to be zoned in such a way or have a conditional permit in such a way that the use that you're wanting to do is legal. So
Right.
whatever it is that you're doing now, if it's not a legal use, they're not going to give you a loan for it. But if you can find some kind of way to make it a legal use, I don't think that it's limited that it has to be C2. It just needs to be legal within whatever way it is.
But in the
actually zoned.
2030, they're already saying it's in the future use as a commercial C2 area, and they're talking about putting this roundabout, so what's the difference?
That's a recommendation, that doesn't mean that's what's gonna happen. You'd have to get everybody who lived there to agree that they're gonna sell that property and make it
Right, but
commercial.
it's,
But
but the recommendation on here is saying it's considered prime for commercial development. I don't understand.
I own
the
property on there too,
difference.
that they're on 4061, they say they're gonna make industrial. Well, I own the property, I'm not selling it for industrial. They can recommend anything they want, but that doesn't mean that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that 2030 master plan was done, what, Robert? How many years ago?
Well, the most recent was 2019, but honestly, the land use recommendations were carried over from 2 master plans before
Yeah,
that.
so that is you know,
I mean, but they've
So-
already started most of it right there, Piney Road overpass. There's a roundabout on the other side of Piney Road overpass.
Yeah.
They put a gas station in. That's my point. And I'm not saying it has to be, we are just trying to get it C2 to do what we need to do because we are selling the building. And we already have a buyer who's going to keep it office space. It's been an office space since 1983. Same traffic, same parking amount of space. It's been that way since '83.
So I guess what I'm trying to give you is a little piece of
Yeah,
advice,
yeah,
I
no, and
guess.
I
You know, I'm not
appreciate that.
against your
Yeah, no,
particular use.
I totally
I'm just trying to give you a
appreciate
little
it.
piece of advice that like, making it C2 is going to open it up to wildly inappropriate uses for this particular piece of land. So it's, in my opinion, just reading the room, I think it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. So I'm suggesting to you that you may wish to look at other methods for getting done what you want to get done.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So Robert, is there any other way that they can do it?
Well, yes. So the application is for C2, General Commercial District.
All right.
The master plan doesn't necessarily recommend districts. It's really more about land use categories. So the master plan recommends future commercial. There's another district below, one step below C2 called Neighborhood Commercial District. And then there's another commercial zoning district below that called Office and Commercial District, Office District. So for instance, CO, Office District, permissive uses, abstracting services, advertising, architectural engineering, artists, painters, sculptors, auditing, accounting, business and management consulting services. Basically, it's a list of different offices. So that's a possibility too. Now,
And does that fall under commercial? Commercial office, correct?
yeah, it's just called Office District.
Okay.
So they can
And
only
it's
put an office
like two steps
Yeah.
below C2. So what you're proposing in terms of that sort of office, that would fit really well under that. I would offer that according to the zoning procedures, once an application reaches the county council can choose to rezone a smaller area than what was applied for or a less intensive zoning district than what was applied for. So someone, for instance, applies for C2 zoning, the county council could say, well, I think C1 is more appropriate here or CO is more appropriate here. So I'm just offering that up.
So if we were to deny this and then they go before the county council, they could ask them to bring it down to CO, correct? And get it approved,
Well,
possibly.
the county council could choose to, their choices would be to approve it as submitted or deny it, or they could approve a different zoning district that's of a less intensive use.
Can we make a recommendation to the council? Well, I'm talking about, our vote on this is one recommendation. Can we make a second recommendation as to what we feel would be the appropriate classification? Can we do that, Counselor?
No, this would just be a number down on the C2 request.
No,
Oh, I get, yeah.
I'm having a second motion.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is that, the recommendation is for approval or denial
Yeah.
of the request. Is that you're asking for a second recommendation? That's not what they applied for.
So are you saying that the applicant would need to come back and apply for a different zoning?
They can do it.
So there's not a way to amend it?
They can actually amend it before, as it goes to council, actually. If the council can reduce it, they can actually. So I believe they have one person that did that recently. Between the time that you got it and now here.
Would they need to table it and then come back, or would they be able to?
You could do it you could deny it here and then they could do it before council there.
Would that be another option? Could they table it and
That's
come
another-
back with an amended
Another
one?
option, they could table it here and make a lesser request. A concurrence of three, since the rezoning, concurrence of three here could also table it since it's a rezoning. And perhaps if they wanted to come back with an amended.
When I found this out, I went to the office on your main building, and I spoke to, I thought he was the head of planning and zoning. That's what it said on his card, but it wouldn't be you. He had a gold chain on, and the whole time I talked to him.
Oh, okay, it wasn't me.
I can't think, is it Mark?
I've never seen your bling, Robert. Well, you're holding out on us, man.
Mark in the office down
Yeah.
here.
We have a mark.
I think it was Mark. Anyway, and he's the one, when I spoke to him through all of this, and I said, look, when we bought it, this is what we were told, and when I looked at tax records, this is what I saw. I went through all that with him, and he was the one that suggested the C2 thing.
Sure.
So honestly, Jen, I totally get what you're saying and appreciate
Potentially.
that you're suggesting that, because.
So what's your time frame on this person's?
I mean,
price?
The
He's asking you to
the
do
buyer
this.
is
He's
telling.
asking you to do
Uh-huh,
this.
yeah. So he won't close until it's done, but it's the same thing, office space that, like I said, yeah, there has been a little more traffic, but everything else, I feel like we've really tried to address and deal with.
Yeah, we're
and
trying to solve your problem and the neighbor's problem.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Right.
Because it's, as it is, C2, if I live there,
Yeah.
scared to death.
Yeah.
Don't want
It
it.
could be anything.
It could be,
Could be
and so I
C2.
have to sympathize with the residents
Yeah.
and look at what's best for the area. And that would be a huge concern for me. But knowing that you know, so you kind of, your two options is you can have us vote as is, see what happens, and then ask to amend it, or you can table it and come back in a month and say, okay, we want to request some other zoning.
So you were saying if it's denied, then we can't amend it?
If it's denied here, under our procedures for zoning, when it goes before the governing body, you can amend the application
Okay.
there. So if you wanted to amend the application to go for a lower
Okay.
zoning thing, and then we would still send forth the denial of the C2, but then you could request a lesser,
Okay.
as long as it's a less intense
Yeah.
zoning
Okay.
district, in which case it's.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't
So, yeah.
delay you another month if you want us to move forward.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to be able to amend it.
Okay.
So you don't want to table, just make sure you want to amend, you want us to vote, and then you want to amend depending on what happens with the
Correct.
vote.
And how, I just get a hold of the main office for that?
If you could do so in writing, you could submit it in a letter, an email, or
Okay.
however you'd like.
I'm curious too, if it's rezoned, Robert, is there gonna be nonconformities with buffer yards next to agriculture and everything else? I know
Yeah.
I know there's questions whether it's legal or non-conforming or just non-conforming its current use, but I'm just saying,
Right.
are we creating more of an issue because it's such a small lot to be rezoning any type of commercial
Right.
district?
Yeah, typically there are some sort of a buffer between commercial and residential. What's interesting is one of the parking areas, which has angled parking, if you look at the aerial photograph, it shows that it's striped with angled parking, just like a commercial parking lot.
The parking lot's been there since '83, yeah.
And there's no turnaround on that parking lot, though. I don't know how people, that back out on the street or something, I'm not really
They do.
sure how that works, but
They do.
that's just, it is what it is. I mean, it's been existing like that since the 1980s, I guess.
Well, even if it's residential, they still have to get out of there, so that's not going to change anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so when they rezone it, will they make them conform to current zone, like whether it's sewer or water or ADA or whatever that is?
We're on private well and sewer and septic.
Okay.
The zoning wouldn't trigger that, but I mean, if it were a change of use, there different building codes might come into play. But that's regardless of the zoning. I mean,
Right,
if-
right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicants? Hearing none?
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, so we'll bring this, RZ 22-17, bring it back to the commission for consideration.
Yeah, as discussed, I think that a CO type of zoning does make sense. It doesn't make sense as a warehouse, and the highest and best use does not dictate single-family residence. So I would say that again, what you had talked about, I think that makes far more sense.
No, I agree.
Agreed.
Now, Robert, I have a question where if Hill Road ends at their property line, and then I go around the corner, and now I'm running parallel with 61, and then come down and run into Piney Road, is that, is that the state road or a county road?
I haven't researched that part. I've noticed on the aerial photograph that there's dark asphalt, and then when it gets up to this house, it looks like a change of colors, so obviously there's different jurisdictions there, but I'm not sure if it's county or state. I haven't-
So we don't know they could petition to put some no parking signs.
I can find out in 5 minutes. I just haven't
Okay.
looked into it, so,
Okay.
okay.
And then, Counselor, there's no way that, assuming we vote on this and this application's turned down, can we make any message to the council that we would support?
Well, first off, we do
If
have a
they're
recorded
watching this
meeting here that
video.
seems to indicate that, if you want to, but. in
Since
terms
Mr.
of-
Hollander's not here.
That they could review, but also be in the minutes, which the minutes are, of the meeting are produced and
Public.
incorporated into their findings as
Yeah.
well. But in terms of, the vote that you're taking today would be on what they've applied for, which would be for the C2, yeah.
Okay.
And I understand the concern and the wish to do that, but yeah, in terms of what you're voting on, it'd be the application as submitted, yeah.
Okay. Anyone have anything else? Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve application RZ 22-17, which is to rezone property located at the northwest quadrant of Highway 61 and David Hokel Parkway, adjoining the cities of Wentzville and Flint Hill. The address is 2012 Hill Road. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fromm. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clary made the second. Ms. Paymer, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Cornwell?
No.
Mr. Fromm?
No.
Ms. Kirchner?
No.
Ms. Barr?
No.
Mr. Clary?
No.
Mr. Hollander is not here, and I vote no. Oh, Mr. Shep?
No.
I'm sorry, sir. Trying to do it in random order. Okay. And the county council meeting is, let me make sure I get this.
First-
Yeah,
First Monday in December.
yeah.
December 5th.
December 5th.
So for the
Back in,
residents,
back in this room.
and you may, so if you want to bring more people, if you're opposed to anything, bring them to the meeting.
Come back.
Come back.
To December 5th.
Yeah, re-highlight.
Okay, we have no plats. The next thing on our
If you guys want
agenda
to leave, you can.
is, yeah, you're free to go if you,
Unless you like meetings.
next thing on our agenda is a continued, tabled item, conditional use permit request 6730 Hickory Tree Lane, and so we need a motion to take that off the table.
Motion?
Is there a second to the motion of
Second.
taking conditional use permit request 6730 Hickory Tree Lane off the table? Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and a second. All in favor, sign aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we now will consider conditional use permit request
Gentlemen,
6730.
close the door, please. Gentlemen,
Hey,
could you close that door, please?
yo,
Thank you.
not a barn. So we will consider conditional use permit request, CUP 22-12, located at 6730 Hickory Tree Lane. Property owner is the Sparrow's Nest. The property zoning is R1A Single Family District. Conditional use request is a daycare serving no more than, we'll amend this later, 10 children at any given time, parcel size 1 acre. The location is approximately 470 feet southwest of the intersection of Carter's Grove and Highway K, adjacent to the city of O'Fallon, located in Council District 3. Staff.
What's changed since the last time this
See if you have
this
that
was
touch
reviewed?
again.
One, we have a written communication from the applicant to change it from a maximum of 10 children to a maximum of 5.
What do you get
We also have a communication from Carterville Fire Protection District
Just hitting the agenda.
and also from the St. Charles County Ambulance District as well.
Sorry.
And so those should be part of your packet.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, ask the applicant to come forward. Counsel, do I need to swear them in since this is a continuance? They've already been sworn in? Just to be safe?
It's fine.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Kirk Kasicki. I'm the president of the Sparrow's Nest, located at 6730 Hickory Tree Lane in O'Fallon.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, as Robert said, we have asked to reduce the size from 10 children to 5 children. And I apologize, we got it late to the staff, so I know they had a little bit of a fire drill today. And I think you guys have hard copies of it rather than in your packet. So one of the reasons, so we're hoping that in reducing it from 10 to 5, that will reduce the number of trips on Hickory Tree Lane. That was one of the big concerns of the prior meeting. Reducing it to 5 would actually take us at or below the number of trips that we had when we were a maternity home, which is what we were already permitted to use. As Robert mentioned, we talked to the ambulance district. They provided a letter that said all of their equipment can get down Hickory Tree Lane. They have no concerns. Even the most advanced life, I forgot how they phrase it, the most advanced life equipment can get down there. We also talked to the Cottleville Fire Department. They had no concerns. Under 5 were actually not, 5 or under were not actually in their jurisdiction. But they stated that they would have no problem with their equipment getting down Hickory Tree Lane either. Even though we're not in their jurisdiction, from our prior usage as a maternity home, we're well above the residential fire code. We have fire doors that are alarm triggered. All of our services will be provided on the first floor. All the children will be on the first floor. And even on the second floor where the staff will be, we have an external door with a fire escape. And so from a fire perspective, we're above what we would actually be required to by the Cottleville Fire Department. Since the meeting, we also met with the neighbors, the Westfalls, to try and come to an agreement on Hickory Tree Lane. We were not able to do so. But we're hoping that with the reduction from 10 to 5, that will alleviate some of the issues that we had, some of the concerns that we had around the traffic.
Any questions for the applicant?
Hours of operation?
I would still be 7 to 6.
And will some of the kids, will they be multiple kids' families? Like, will one family might have 2 kids? So it might be not 5 cars, but maybe 3 cars, or, you know, that kind of thing.
Potentially. Yeah, we haven't decided that yet.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will now open the public hearing for RZ 22-14. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
Please state your names and address for the record.
Brandon Westfall, address 6714 Hickory Tree Lane.
Okay.
Leslie Westfall, 6714 Hickory Tree Lane.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
The updates, we're obviously just now finding out the drop of numbers, and that's a positive, but at the same fact, the hours of operation, it's still one of those situations where my son has to walk from our home all the way out to Highway K at that time, to where he's still gonna have to dodge, even if it's 2 or 3 cars, he still has to dodge that, which he typically wouldn't if that wasn't
Well,
the case.
Brandon, I don't know if that's true. I mean, if somebody owned that house and had a family there, you're gonna have the same problem, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
but
only way
they,
you're gonna avoid this is if nobody lives there or uses the property. So I don't agree with that.
I mean, but
I
if,
feel like we respect about it.
I mean, like I said, it's one of those situations, though. I understand where you're coming from. If it was a home, if someone lived there, you would be, okay, leaves at the same time my son leaves. Okay, well, and my son then knows, okay, that person leaves work. I've seen that happen 1 or 2 times. If he's having a car come down, any random person that's coming down to that home, I don't want to have to worry about that every single day. That's a main concern that I have. And as far as the meeting between us and them went, it was more of just can we find a medium ground? And the only way that we saw it would be to try to widen the road, which that wasn't something, by our understanding, that they were interested in doing for either financial reasons or whatever the reasons may be. They did mention putting in a side turn to where someone, if you're coming in, if you saw it, you can turn, but at the same time, that would kind of fix one part of the problem. But when you get, I can show you guys, we actually took a video of the driveway.
Did you live there when they had Sparrow's Nest in operations or not?
We did.
Yes, we did.
Okay, and so what was it?
But our son was homeschooled as well. So our son's been homeschooled since 4th grade, and he decided to go back to high school, so.
And it's not that we're opposed to people coming down. We just want you to know if you live there, you would respect kids that live there, like you do in a neighborhood. How many times do you see a neighborhood sign, kids live here? Like, we thought about putting a sign up. They put the speed limit sign up. But as I've mentioned before, I got ran off the road in my own car, and I live
Well,
there.
I live in a cul-de-sac and I have
Yeah,
a sign, when
it's
my grandkids
so-
are out, I put it out in the street.
It's just a little concern, that's all, because they don't live there, so they don't care. So like you said, we did the meeting for widening the
You've got to
road.
do something to help
Yeah.
mitigate that too, so.
So as far as their suggestion went, like I said, it would
Yeah,
fix
you can show
part of the problem. I don't know if I could hook this up like last time.
You can.
We recorded, just to show that there's no way to pass. So we did meet with them. We were hoping we could come to a term with widening the road.
Yeah, but that was going on before you guys. I mean, when Sparrow's Nest was there, they were still having that problem, and it didn't seem to be a problem for whoever.
But is it gonna go from 5 to 10 later? That's
No.
what, you know,
No,
because they bought the
no.
parcel between
Cannot
us
do
too.
that.
We're worried about that.
Cannot do that.
Okay.
Not without coming back.
We don't know. I don't know how it works.
Right.
So that's the
Yeah.
question that I had just now, because I
We're
was
asking for a
told 10
reduction to
people.
5.
And now we went to 5, so that's good news.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I know the road, I've been on it, it's
Yeah.
rough, no doubt about it.
It is rough.
It's a rough road.
It is rough. It's nice though. It's private. You wouldn't know it exists.
Yeah.
Just go ahead, plug this into your phone, and I'll put you on it.
I don't even know how all that works. Does he do it back there?
It'll connect.
They'll do the magic back there.
Right.
Oh,
Hopefully.
that's why I was like, I don't know how we did it last time. But we just recorded it because some people aren't familiar with the road. But like I said, the whole number has changed too, so. Yes, we have 2 of the same cars, so you're gonna wonder.
We know, I know.
So our property's back there. This is not even our property yet. As we said before, there's over 400 yards there. So we own right where that telephone pole is back. This is all owned by the commercial buildings is what we're looking into right now with the easements and stuff.
So their suggestion was to add a side drop-off or turn
what
to
it's
where.
A bubble.
I think it was a suggestion you had made and then they had met with somebody, but
The only
either way it works.
problem
It's
I
not gonna
see with that is if you notice, whoa, right there, inside of that tree line, there's still another, before you get to the Sparrows, that's another 200 to 300 yards. So that wouldn't really help if I'm pulling out of my driveway, because you still can't see the whole long driveway of.
But again, Brandon, I'm just gonna say, it doesn't matter who's back there, how many cars, there's a problem on that road regardless.
There is. That's
Yeah,
why
we
we
agree.
offered, we
Yeah,
asked
who
if we could like widen the road. And that's taking our trees and our land.
So what
You
would
know,
you-
we took in
So what would
consideration
you
what
guys
she
be,
said.
what would you guys be comfortable with?
We met with him. We asked him if he would if he would be open to widen the road that we
but I
own.
don't-
But once he gets past that,
They
we were
already
like,
have a permit to have a Sparrow's Nest in there where they can have 10 people. I don't even know, I can't remember what it was, but they could have a lot more cars going through there.
We have.
Were you guys living there when they had it?
yes, we've been there
And
8
what was
years.
it like?
It's,
Very
I can't say the
difficult.
word, but you
So
said
this-
it's
this
very
is better.
crazy.
This is better.
So I feel like a double road, even with Sparrow's Nest, it wouldn't have been as crazy because we can pass each other. We don't have to back up all the way out to Highway K.
just
I
don't
don't
see
have
it
to.
fixing.
I'm on someone's land right now. That's not my property I'm on. That's the commercial property, I
understand.
guess, or the
That part I do
city.
understand.
So that's all
I'm
we're
trying to
saying.
make you happy and.
And then-
We're just
That's what we
trying
met.
to
We
make
met.
everybody happy at this point
You
because
guys don't want them to be there is what it is.
I obviously don't
Well,
want
I
any
mean,
type
we-
of problems with our neighbors. We like them, enjoy them.
Yeah, but only as long as we're not on the road.
Well, why, maybe we can figure
know?
out how to just make it easier
Yeah.
for people to pass by. So we did our due diligence of meeting with them, asking like, would they be opening the widening the road? They offered the like side road and we did ask like, how would it work? He was like, we're not really sure yet.
Okay.
So we asked if they could meet with us, how that would work,
Sure.
just so traffic. But again, that was 30 to 35 cars before. So this is news to us, just as this is news to you. to go
And
to 5.
regardless, if we were to agree and come to an agreement of widening the road, I still don't understand how it would work when it comes down to the actual part where the tree line starts. Because as you can see, there's a telephone pole there. You go another 50 yards, there's 2 more telephone poles on the right side. So where do you widen it at that point?
Well, they're talking about, you said putting like little bubbles on the
That wouldn't
side?
work.
What
Yeah.
if you did multiple of those, like
What-
every
you
so
can't-
often there was a
I don't
turn-on?
want multiple bubbles all over my property.
You would just widen to our
Inside the
property.
tree line is the main concern when it comes to those bubbles. Because one, that's where my property starts, is right where that telephone pole is.
We don't own this.
So I don't own coming
I
from the
don't know how they
telephone
can do
pole, we just have the easement for that. So inside the telephone pole, that's all my property there, along with the easement for the road.
Right.
So I don't want, you know,
Well, but it's basically like, I'm assuming it's a cost issue. I'm guessing that's why they don't want to widen the whole
That's what it
road.
that's
So
what we're
I'm
taking, I
guessing,
have no
so
idea.
what I was saying is if you did a bubble every so often, that would cost less, I think, than widening the entire
But we were trying to
portion.
ask them
Yeah.
like to present that, but they didn't really have all that part together yet. But I mean,
They-
they weren't opposed to like trying to figure out how to widen.
They're
the
not
road.
opposed to
I don't know
ideas.
where they're at with that now, because we
Right.
didn't meet again.
I mean, it's certainly expensive to widen a road.
Yeah,
I
the,
can
We
the
know.
idea that was
As a
proposed to
nonprofit.
us was a side driveway that kind of resembles a
Grass or
astroturf type ordeal that cars can drive over. That's what was presented to us.
We weren't
when
opposed to
didn't
it, we
meet.
just needed it to make sense so that everybody
Yeah.
could get down the driveway at the same time with the 30-plus cars. Even with Sparrow's Nest, it would have been nice to have that something so that we can all pass each other. Because as you see, if I'm trying to go to work at the same time, 8 AM, no matter if there's 5, 8, or another family, it is a stupid road, like Craig says, or whatever he said, it's a pain, it is. So, I mean, we found out too, like we're all supposed to be maintaining it. That was a question you brought up. We didn't know that. We just found that out, but we're
Yeah.
the only ones maintaining it. So we,
You guys did
There you
suggest
go,
us to
save you
get
some
a.
money.
You guys
No, we didn't
suggested
save
to
money. We had to
find
save
us
some money.
a lawyer, so
You
we
suggested us
ended
to
up
find
doing
an
that.
attorney, so we did what you told us, so. And in the moment of that, that
But I'm
kind of
saying if
opened
you
up.
don't have to pay for all the maintenance now, that should.
Yeah, I
save.
mean, I guess. I mean, we've done it we've done it, and the Burkempers did it before us, so it's not that was a headache. But if it like became to where they were bringing 35 people, who's gonna make sure? So we did what you told us. This is new to us too, so we're just trying to figure that out. But within the time of that, we did contact him and we found out more can of worms that we didn't
Yeah,
really wanna
it's-
open,
it's-
with the easements and how originally that easement was access to residential, not even to what the Sparrow's Nest was. Like, that easement was supposed to be just for residential, is what this attorney was telling us. And he, he's like, you just don't want them there. Well, they've been there 8.5 years. We never had an issue with them. It's always been an issue with traffic. I'd be lying to say it wasn't. Anybody would be. But then it comes to that easement access, yes, but where their driveway starts is actually, we found out was on our land too. So that kind of opened up more than what we even thought would open up
Yeah, the easement is supposed to go completely straight, and right now the road kind of veers.
onto our property.
property. Which we had no idea until, we spoke with the attorney and
Shouldn't have put
went through
any
the process of that.
Honestly. I mean, I hate to say it, but they shouldn't have put anything back there.
Well, and that's what the
With it just
attorney
being a
said.
one-lane- With a one-lane road.
They did.
It's just a sore location, I guess. So we asked them, like, would you ever consider, like, maybe if you did sell it, like, would you guys like consider maybe a building or like an old church? This was just us being neighbors saying, we got to listen to the whole plan. Like, I think it's amazing. Like, they said they learned it from somebody else in a different state. I don't know how much you guys knew about it, but I thought it was great. I mean, I think we were there for an hour, hour and a half. So it wasn't like a 2-second idea. We just kept coming back to, how can we both pass by without an issue? Even if it stops there, because we don't own that land, that's something better than 400 yards of coming down and backing all the way up. Because that's what it is. And if you've been back there, you know that. You've got to back all the way up. So if they're all coming to drop off at 8 a.m., I go to work at 8 a.m., Deanna, our son, goes to school, that's all he's saying about that.
Actually, if it was me, I just drive on the grass.
And they do. That's why it's yellow. So, but then
I
the
know,
ditch drops off
somebody
too.
decided to put huge boulders there. I'm kind of feeling like, what if somebody decided to put some gravel down, like?
We don't know, so that opened the can for the
That's a
attorney
whole
too, but that's a
separate
whole nother.
recommendation.
So it didn't save us money, we
That's a
kind of had to
whole
sink money
separate-
where we didn't want to. But we're learning, I mean, hey.
That's a whole separate issue
we're
that we'll probably
learning.
have to both go after.
Yeah, we
the
kind of
other
talked about it
person
together
that
to
has
see
the
if they
issue.
could help us try to get rid of them too for the safety of anybody. Because the fire department might be okay, but if there's a truck on that rock, then, I mean, it, literally, the day that we left here, the next day, there were 2 cars. Just last week, a cop car hit the rock. He got stuck on the rock and had to explain to his sergeant who had to come out to help him get off the rock.
Tore up the whole front of the car.
So the rock's a whole nother situation. So hopefully, either way it goes, if they did get approved or didn't, hopefully we can together figure out how to get the rocks out so that we don't all have an issue.
This is pulling out of our driveway.
We have 2 entries. That's our
Yeah,
second
we have a
entry.
circle driveway, so as you can see there,
You do pull in our grass, like you said.
there's no real way to,
Put the side road. We're just asking how.
You know
How do
what I
we
mean?
do that?
that's kind of
We
where.
don't know. We don't know how to do it either.
Okay.
We don't either.
We don't have,
And
we
that's-
have nothing to do with
That's
that.
kind of where
well,
we.
it was mentioned,
That's where
so I
the
don't know.
meeting kind of came to a halt because I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
I don't have a proper resolution to the situation.
Sure.
Then the attorney asked us how it got approved in the first place. I don't have those answers. I don't
I
know how to
don't know
do
any of
all
it.
of this. So you said it shouldn't have been put back there. Well, he said the same. I'm like, I don't know any of that. I'm just trying to figure out if it gets approved, how do we make it safe for everybody and everybody's happy and they can all get in and out of their property and they don't have an issue, neither do we, because we have to live there. They don't live
Well, let's
there.
ask them. Let's ask them how they do it.
Sounds good.
I have a question. Are you operating a business out of your home?
None of my home, no.
Okay. I looked at some old notes, and then sort of at the end of the discussion last month was about these buses that we see in the aerial.
Yeah, I mean, they don't operate there at the home. Right now, we have them parked at our house. We don't operate there, no.
There's no operation inside. But I mean, again, that got brought up last time, so we brought that up with the attorney because we're going through a permit to put them on our 4 acres. So, I mean, that doesn't really have much to do with what they're going for because that's not traffic. That's our bus. There's not somebody on the bus unloading and hanging out like it's a shuttle.
They're personal vehicles.
But don't you drive it on the road?
Yeah, but it's the same size as our trash truck that comes down to our driveways and then they turn around
Yeah.
either in our driveway or their driveway.
Yeah, but his point is, if you're running a business out of your property, you're gonna have traffic too.
But it's-
Our traffic is nowhere near the time.
It's not the
of-
time frame.
Our buses, if they leave out,
He
they
asked
don't
that
leave
before, so
until
we had answered.
9 p.m.
Well, there's
at
no
night.
guarantee on what time you're gonna be leaving.
Well, there is a guarantee.
'Cause
I
it's
own
the
the business,
days we
so, I mean,
operate.
I don't,
What's that?
It's the times we operate.
yeah, they don't,
I thought buses, like buses picking up.
no, we don't shuttle or anything like that.
It's usually late at night.
They don't leave until about 9
We don't have
o'clock at night.
drivers available for the
Okay,
morning.
all right. Well, let's get the other people up, see if we can, the applicant up and talk to them about this.
Yeah, to disconnect that thing.
Roger,
You have anything else?
No.
Okay.
thank you.
May I ask that people speak one at a time? The reason is, in order to get this on the record and create the minutes, it's really hard to
I'm sorry.
create the minutes.
No worries.
He said, she said, he
They're
said. she
excited.
Well, I mean,
We
commissioners
are too.
sometimes do
Yes.
speak to
Yeah,
two
we
at a time.
talked
Four.
to 2 people at once. They were
Yeah.
with us. Sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? You solemnly swear or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings or the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate, mailing address P.O. Box 1535, O'Fallon. I'm glad to see that the daycare has dwindled down in size to their 5 children. I did read the ambulance district response saying that they could respond to that home in case I get a full-size ambulance back there. I'm sympathetic with that. But the one thing that I want to leave with you is the main concern of the commission should be the public health, safety, and welfare of all. And so there needs to be a secondary roadway or 3 bump outs, and that was just discussed here. I don't know exactly how to solve this. There's been many different issues or examples or opinions, but I'd like to see something done. And it's up to you to ensure health, safety, and welfare of all involved. And so I leave you with that in your decision. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak regarding application CUP 22-12? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Bring it, ask the applicant to come back. Anyone have any additional questions for the applicant?
I guess my question is, I know that we discussed the whole idea of the bump outs last meeting. What, has that progressed at all, any?
So, I really don't want to get into a he said, she said here, and I'm going to apologize for that up front.
I'm not, I'm just asking about
so we did
road
present
itself.
that as a possibility to the Westfalls. They told me that they would, 1, not pay for it, 2, we're not supportive of widening the road, and 3, did not want to lose any of their trees and therefore did not want it on their part of the property. So that's where we left it, and that's kind of where I just stopped at that point. And so the road maintenance agreement does require us to share expenses. We've never been asked to share expenses. We'd be glad to help with that. You know, as far as we know, the easement's not based off of use. It's just an easement for the usage of the road. And so, you know, we've tried to be good neighbors. We've tried to design this in a way that impacts them the least. You know, we've tried to find solutions and just have not been forthcoming with them, so.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. So you currently have a conditional use permit, is that correct?
I believe that is the case, yes.
Okay, and your current conditional use permit allows for a maternity home.
That is correct.
Is there any other use that it would allow for, or is it specific to the maternity home?
I don't know the answer to that
Okay,
question.
that's okay. So basically, I just want to clarify, so the current use that is legal, you had 30 cars going up and down the road,
Yes,
on average.
so yes, our current use as a maternity home, we were licensed for 8 residents. When we had those 8 residents, we would typically have 3 or 4 staff in the house at a given time, and we had 2 to 3 shifts a day. So if you add all of that up, that's where we got the 30 trips a day.
Okay.
Now we would have 5 families and maybe 5 staff going in and out, and so that's 20 trips a day, and that's why I think that we'll actually reduce the number of trips on the road now.
So I guess my just clarification, just to say it one more time, what you're asking for now is to take what you're currently allowed to do and actually limit yourself further to where now you are allowed to do less
That is correct.
than you were allowed to do.
That is correct.
Okay.
And I'm guessing your staff, if you open at 7, staff will probably be coming in 6:30-ish.
Yes, at least some of the staff, yes.
Yeah, so that's not going to be interfering with the coming and going of the son going to school with the staff. So probably, if it's the 8 o'clock hour, give or take 15 minutes before and after, most you would probably have would be 4 or 5 cars during that time period.
That's what we would anticipate, yes.
And probably at the same time every day, because they're probably going to drop them off on their way to
Yes,
work.
it's
then
not
drop
going
pick
to
them
be,
up on
it's not
way
going to
home.
be random people coming in and out. They will be.
The same people
They will be
every
the
day.
same people every
At the
day.
same time, most likely.
Yes.
Unless they have a different shift.
Correct.
Tell me again your hours.
7 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what we're anticipating.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Hearing none?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll now bring CUP 22-12 back to the commission for consideration. Chair will entertain a motion to approve CUP 22-12 with the following amendments. One, recommendation 2 currently reads a maximum of 10 children may attend the subject daycare center at any one time, and that would be amended to read a maximum of 5 children may attend the subject daycare center at any one time. And then with the addition of recommendation number 5, no conditional use shall be active until all conditions of the approval have been met. This would mean comply with county and state standards, since it would be a daycare center.
Motion.
So.
Second.
Been a motion made and seconded. Let's see here. Where's it at? Did you give me a sheet for?
I think this is because it was tabled, you don't have enough sheets. I had to pull one else out of there. There's some in there, Richard, Roger.
Yeah.
You see they have extra ones in there.
Yeah.
Where's the table applications? Tabled. No, here we go. We'll do this one. Okay, so who made the motion?
I did.
I seconded, Bamer seconded.
Ms. Banger did the second, Mr. Clary made the motion. Okay, Mr. Fromm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
Ms. Bamer?
Yes.
Ms. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, so the conditional use permit CUP 22-12 has been approved. Now, again, this will be on the agenda for the county council for the Monday, December 5th meeting. Okay, if you want to come back to the county council. They'll be back in this room. Okay. The next item on our agenda is rezoning request, RZ 22-14. The location is 3866 South Point Prairie Road. Property owners are the Repenthin Family Limited Partnership and Kenneth Baker and Michelle Baker. Developer is Lombardo Homes of St. Louis LLC. The current zoning is A agricultural district, 5-acre minimum lot size. The rezoning request is in 2 parts. A, 79.85 acres to RR Single Family Residential District, 3-acre minimum lot size, and B, 1 acre to R1A Single Family Residential District, 1-acre minimum lot size. 2030 Master Plan recommends rural residential uses. Subject parcel is 95.88 acres. The location is approximately 500 feet west of Highway Z on the north side of South Point Prairie Road near the city of New Melly. This is located in Council District 2. Staff.
The applicant isn't here, right? Are we leaving this on the table?
I'm not sure if the applicant is here or not, but at the request of the applicant, both the rezoning and the plat had been tabled previously, so I haven't received any communication since then for either way.
Okay, so we'll leave it on the table.
Right next to the bread and butter.
Anyone here regarding application RZ 22-14? Seeing no one, it'll remain on the table. Okay.
That ends the meeting, I think.
Oh, it's easier enough.
That's everything.
Minutes.
Next thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the October 19th, 2022 meeting. Anyone have any additions, deletions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second. Oh,
All in
sorry.
favor of approving the October 19th, 2022 meeting minutes, sign aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Planning and zoning division updates.
I'm happy to report that Mike Hurlbert is back in the office, and so I'm very happy about that.
I'm sure you
And
are.
so I'm no longer an acting department director, so I'm now back to planning and zoning division
You
director.
have to give up your gold chain?
Right.
They should give him one.
That's the only thing I've got tonight.
Anyone have anything else? Motion to adjourn? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor, sign aye. Aye. We're adjourned.